Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Start to Your Week with Monday Morning Mentor. My name is Aaron Gudekunst, and today I'm going to be going over things you can implement into your 2021 marketing strategy. Now, there's a lot that we're going to be going over today, so let's go ahead and get started, all right? So the first thing I want to talk about is your online presence. The biggest thing about your online presence is you need to have a professional looking website. You need to make sure it's up to date, and because it's a strong first impression, right? Whenever people are searching online, which is about 93% of home buyers, according to the National Association of Realtors, are using online. Whenever they're looking around for the agents in their area, you want to make sure that the website that they find that belongs to you looks professional and looks spectacular and is just easy to engage with, easy to use, and easy for you to collect their information. You want to make sure, of course, that it connects to your IDX or MLS, and you want to make sure that it includes a newsletter sign up. This is something that is just an easy, free way to help you build up your database of potential clients and partners, and you can do it without actually having a concrete email marketing strategy in place. At the very minimum, you just need like a monthly newsletter, but it's something that at least gets you started. You want to make sure you're following the Seo Guidelines to make sure that you're easy to find on Google. It's more and more difficult these days to find ourselves on the first page of Google. And so you want to make sure that you're doing things like keywords. You want to make sure that you're putting out things like fresh content through your blog. And, just checking off all those boxes that helps you to stay closer and closer to the top of the search engine. And then lastly is this section, you want to make sure that your social channels are professional looking and optimized. You want to make sure they're not, all junked up. You want to make sure that they are updated frequently. It's important to have a consistent and thought out content marketing strategy for your social channels, just as important as your email, just as important as your blog. With social media, you want to be able to provide weekly content that provides value, that is engaging, and that is consistent. You want to be able to put out content that people will want to like, that people will want to retweet, that people will want to share. And then not only do that, but to click onto the link that takes them to your website so that you can then maybe later then capture them as a new lead. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is email marketing. And so if you have been watching me the past couple weeks, you know that email marketing is something that's very near and dear to my heart. But specifically today, I'm going to be talking about the emails, the automation, and the tracking. I'll go ahead and include links down below to the other Monday Morning Mentor videos that I've done so that you can kind of get caught up on those if you haven't seen them already. But what's great about email marketing, it is a low-cost marketing strategy with a big impact. Remember how we talked about before, it has that 40-to-1 return on investment for your marketing dollars. And that can just start with building a newsletter. Building a newsletter is simple. It can just be a once-a-month thing that you use to stay in touch with your valuable prospects, with your customers, with your past clients. It's a way to showcase activity from your company, offer free information, and build relationships with your audience. You can run automated emails, and this is something from just simple one-off autoresponders like a welcome email or happy birthday or move-in anniversary emails, all the way up to full-on drip campaigns for each one of the lead types and each one of the levels of your lead funnel. All the way from awareness down to loyalty. You want to be able to utilize a system, something like Elevate, that allows you to automate a lot of that so you're not sitting behind the computer and having to spend a lot of time doing it. But it's a great way to follow up with new leads and to stay top of mind with the leads that are moving through your funnel or may have already converted. And then with all the emails that you're sending out, you want to be able to track your results, right? So just at a minimum, you want to make sure that you're at least looking at your reports. But you want to be sure you're using a system where it will provide you with the basic numbers that are super important. Things like how many times the email was opened, who opened it, how many times links were clicked on, who clicked the links, how many times, and what are the hot links that people are engaging with, and are there further actions like follow-up that can be taken for those people that have clicked on those links. And then you want to also be able to automate things like property marketing. So anytime a new listing or an open house happens or a price adjustment, you want to have something in place that can just automate out a message to certain leads inside of your marketing system that just say, hey, look, here's a new listing that's out on the market that fits your search criteria. Something that, like with the Elevate, morning reports, or here's an open house that we're going to be having next Sunday, or here's a price adjustment on a listing that you are interested in. Having those things automated for you, again, is going to save you a lot of time, and time is money, which is important, right? So we want to be able to use as much of those marketing dollars for other things if we have a system in place that can handle all of those routine day-to-day email tasks, which, while still very important, are also time consuming if we have to do them manually, right? Now, the next thing I want to talk about is our content and just overall content strategy, but is important. But what we're going to be focusing on here is your blog content. So again, blogging is a super low cost way to do marketing with a very big impact. Like we talked about a minute ago with SEO, having fresh content going out through your blog that you've written that is localized, that has keywords in it that are specific to you. Everything like that is going to help to drive up your SEO, and so you have a higher likelihood of appearing, when people are searching for those specific things. But you want to make sure that your blog is active. At the minimum, you want to be sure that you are blogging once a week. That is at a minimum. And if you're thinking, oh, well, I don't know what to write about, don't worry. There are systems out there that can put out articles for you on a weekly basis if you don't have the time. But what we also encourage is putting out things like, again, your listings, your open houses. I'll be talking about that here in a second. But you want to put out content that is going to speak to your audience, your larger audience. You want to put out content that is relevant, that is local, that is not just real estate, but also lifestyle content, because, people are buying a house or selling a house, and then there's a pretty big gap until they're going to buy or sell again, usually. And so you want to be able to touch on those points in between those buy and sell gaps in their life and be there to provide valuable content for them, content that they'll be interested in. You want to provide updates for your community involvement, or just things going on in the community in general. So maybe events that you're involved with, or it doesn't even have to be an event you're involved with, just something that you're interested in or that you think your audience will be interested in. Maybe a calendar of events that are going to be going on in your community that you can then use, kind of like use your website almost as a community hub for people to come and check out what's going to be going on here in the coming months. You want to be able to publish market reports, new listings, open houses, things like that on your blog. All of that is content that's going to be valuable information to somebody. But every time you're doing this, you want to be sure that you're putting it on your blog, you're sharing it to your social channels as well, right? And then you're also sending it out through emails, like newsletters or things like that, or just one-off emails about things like listings and open houses. All of this can be syndicated out through different channels, but the main hub of it is going to be your blog, because your blog is on your website, and on your website are also things like your sign-up forms where you're drawing in more leads, right? And that's what we're ultimately talking about here, right? And then lastly, you want to make sure that your content that you're publishing is high quality. So what do I mean by that? Well, high quality essentially means that it provides value, and it is engaging, and it looks good. Because if you're just, you can throw out content that is valuable, but if it's not engaging, if it doesn't look good, people don't care. You can throw out content that looks spectacular, but if it's provides zero value to the person, then what do they ultimately gain out of that? They'll eventually realize, like, it looked pretty, but that was about it. You want to be sure that it encapsulates all three of those things. So again, is valuable, is engaging, and you're able to get it out to your larger audience as a whole. And so having, I guess, one of the traps that some folks can fall into is that they hear the phrase content is king, and so they immediately think, okay, well, if content is king, that means more content is just good, right? It's just going to be better, right? And that's not necessarily true. So you can post 10 times a week just this okay or mediocre content, but that's going to do far more damage to your brand than if you were to send maybe a third of that number of posts a week from your blog. But if the content is much more valuable, much more engaging, and is just of a higher quality overall, then more visually appealing, things like that, then the quality of the leads you're going to pull through that, the amount of attention you're going to pull through that, the amount of engagement you're going to pull through that is going to be of a higher quality as well. So that's an important thing to think on as you're creating content, regardless of where you're putting it, really. And this next section that I'm going to go over, I have entitled it Multimedia Getting a Little Extra. So this is something that you can do depending on your budget to go the extra mile, because some of these things are a little bit more expensive, such as launching a video marketing campaign. So video marketing is very powerful, but it is also very pricey. If you're creating high quality videos for properties, publishing maybe interviews for testimonials, or just creating high quality videos to showcase your company, you can drive a lot of traffic through that, through YouTube, through Facebook and Vimeo. You just have to make sure it's cost effective for you, that you can actually afford it. You don't want to necessarily sacrifice some of the other staples that are in the long run more important, such as being able to blog or being able to send out just emails in general. All that stuff is important, in my mind, more important in the long run, other than just a high quality video that you don't necessarily want to dump your entire budget for 2021 into, just right off the bat. But if you do have the budget for it, video is definitely a very very appealing option, right? You want to also look at updating your print collateral. So if you have print collateral and you haven't updated it since the year 2000, it's time to do that. It's been 20 years. A lot of the things that I see when it comes to needing to update print material usually has to do with little minor changes, like updating a website URL, or updating social channels, or updating contact information. You want to make sure that anything that you send out that is print, anything that goes out as print, that is up to date and that it looks good. I mean, don't be afraid to ask around and say, like, hey, what do you think of this? Does this look good? Is this something you would want to receive in your mailbox? That type of thing is going to be important as well. But again, print material can be, again, a little bit pricey, so something to just think about is maybe a little bit extra to factor into your budget. And then you have things like buying into more traditional media outlets. And this can be things like trade journals, newspapers, local print media, radio, things like that, things that we typically think of as more traditional. Obviously, things like TV ads are a little bit more expensive, but that being said, more traditional outlets still work, and they still provide a good service. And then lastly, you could just go like super extra with it and try out drones, something like that. Especially if you have if you have a younger audience, kind of around my age or a little bit younger, kind of like the millennials and below, we're probably really into drones, right? More of the retiree age may not necessarily care as much, but depending on your properties, you could probably get some really cool drone videos out of it and use it for your marketing. So, again, something to kind of look at that might be a little bit fun to add this year. Now, just kind of harkening back to outlets for generating leads or for putting yourself out there. This one isn't really considered traditional yet, but I have a feeling that probably in the next 5 years or so, this is going to be a channel that is considered traditional, and that is pay-per-click ads and lead generation. So pay-per-click ads, most of the time we think of through websites, through Google, through Facebook, things like that you're paying money to get leads to your website, to your forums, things like that. And so lead gen through pay-per-click is still an intelligent approach, like is still a smart approach that doesn't cost a lot but can still result in a big return on investment. On our website, for example, tryelevate.com, we actually have a lead gen calculator that you can play with, so you can kind of see like what you can afford and what statistically you should be recognizing for your return on investment with your marketing dollars. So, something to look at. It's a free tool, so you can just go on and kind of play around with it and just kind of get an idea. But being able to run targeted ads through campaigns like or through like Facebook and Google, especially, provide a really solid methodology for you to be able to pull in leads who are looking for listings in your area, or are looking for an agent to help them list their home in your area. Something where you don't necessarily have to rely as much on SEO. You can literally pay for your spot on the first page of Google, and so that way you're able to keep up with the competitors or surpass the competitors that aren't willing to spend those lead gen marketing dollars. And then the next part of pay-per-click ads is through retargeting. So the easiest way I can describe retargeting is if you go on like Amazon, you're looking at a pair of shoes, and then you go on Facebook and there's an ad right there in Facebook for that same pair of shoes. That's retargeting. So basically what happens is someone comes to your website, they visit or they take some kind of action, and then there's an ad from your website that just follows them around for a little bit and says, hey, come on back. Hey, come on back. You want to take another look at that listing? And so it continues to just follow them around and continue to prompt them to take action and go back to your website. Because statistically, again, more than 90% of your web traffic are not going to take an action the first time they visit. And so you want them to keep coming back, returning that or increasing that return rate so that as they continue to return, they continue to engage more and more and more so that you're able to collect more and more and more data on them and continue to do more intelligent follow-up. All right, so that's pay-per-click. That actually covers a whole much bigger thing. We have other videos and educational material on lead gen there that we can direct you to. But what I want to get to now is a little bit more personal, right? So this is going to be in-person marketing. And the specific types of in-person marketing I'm talking about here are being involved with your community, supporting local charities, or an organization. Something that is very simple to do, doesn't cost a lot, but has a very large return on investment in terms of your relational equity. So it can be a local organization or charity that you feel strongly about. It's a great way to give back to the community, and it helps you get your name out there and allow you to engage with people in ways that aren't really strictly from like a business perspective. You just want to make sure that the organization or charity that you're aligning yourself with is something that aligns with your goals and kind of ethos as a business, right? You also want to put on you also want to be able to host events locally as well. And I say locally, but honestly now with the amount of people that are using Zoom or GoToWebinar, it's very, very easy to do this virtually as well for a much larger audience. But this can be something like a training class for new buyers, like helping them through the new buying process. This can be something like a seminar for newlywed couples who are looking to move out of their apartments pretty soon to find their starter home. Just different educational classes like this that don't necessarily have to cost anything for the attendees. Maybe it can, just depending on what you're offering, but will help to get your name out there, help to provide a bigger impact for those new potential leads that are attending. In this section, what I'm wrapping it up with for this in-person section is that you don't just want to do it, but you also want to talk about it, right? A lot of people are saying like, don't just talk about doing something, do it. Well, on the reverse side of that, for a lot of marketing, is that once you've gone out and done something in the real world, once you've been involved with a community event, once you have participated with a charity, once you have hosted a class, talk about it. That's content. That's something that you can put up on your blog, something you can share on your social channels that will help other people engage and draw more interest to you. So don't just do these things, out there. Share it, talk about it on your different channels so that you can then continue to use that as content to market yourself. And this last section I'm going to go through today is called You Do You. And these are kind of like no-brainer things that I'm pretty sure most of you guys are doing anyways, but I just want to kind of hammer it home of the importance of including these. So the first one is asking for referrals. This is something that is a tried and true method. Even if your business does not, focus or revolve around getting referrals, that is just something that statistically is going to have a far, far higher return on investment because it's free. It's word of mouth. You help somebody, they help you back by, referring a friend of theirs to you. The key is just to actually ask about it. Creating a referral program with potential partners or maintaining close relationships with previous clients and following up with them. It just takes a little bit of time, but it is something that will pay huge dividends later on when you're getting those referrals to convert. And you're doing that through this next section, which is nurturing your relationships. So, it is so easy to forget, right? It is so easy just in our day-to-day tasks to forget to maintain the relationships with clients that we are currently working with or that we have worked with in the past. But it is something that is so important because, by sharing your knowledge with them, by sharing just valuable content with them, by continuing to, put yourself out there for them and be there for them, even if they're asking you questions that aren't real estate related, you're continuing to build on and maintain those relationships that are just going to pay off in the end through things like referrals. And then lastly, this is a lot of stuff we've been talking about, so I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. What can really help you out with a lot of this is to outsource some of this when needed. So there are companies out there like us, like Elevate or like 365 Agency that do a lot of this for real estate professionals already. And so, if you're looking for assistance with determining your 2021 marketing plan, your budget, your strategy, what have you, let us know. I have the website and phone number right down here that you can check out. At tryelevate.com. We have a lot of educational material on there. You don't just have to check out what we do. You can also check out how we help agents and brokers across the country just, continue to grow as professionals through, just checking out our blog. You can see a lot of helpful information there as well. What I also want to wrap up with is I know that I covered a lot today, so I thank you for hanging out with me. But there's a lot more that can go into a strategy for 2021. And so what I'm going to be doing is taking all of this information we talked about and more and compiling it into a comprehensive guide that I'm going to be sharing with you guys pretty soon. Probably within, probably close to November-ish is probably when I'm going to have like the nice, like good one out there for you. So what I would do is, stick around, come back, continue to check us out. We're going to be putting out that guide for you that will encompass more of how you can implement a lot of these different strategies into your 2021 marketing strategy as a whole. And I'll be able to include a lot of things in there that I wasn't able to talk about here today because we're running long on time. But anyways, I thank you so much for hanging out with me again. My name is Aaron Gutekunst. It was great seeing you guys, and I will talk to you again next week. Have a great day. Bye-bye.